Hello there. I did a survey and over half the people that answered, and there were hundreds of answers when I talked about what's most frustrating in fly fishing, it's trees, right? Trees are always seemingly in your way. Sometimes when you look behind you, you think it's clear, you make the cast and you don't see that branch and now you're hung up in that tree. So I'm gonna give you some tips, some casting tips on what do you do in these situations, right? You've got a beautiful freestone stream that's lined with a bunch of trees, a lot of which are down in the river, right next to the river, all over the place. How do you get the fly line out there? And trust me, I've been right where you are. I put an entire box full of flies. I'm sure probably 2 boxes full of flies in trees in my lifetime. So it's going to happen, but these tips can help reduce that. So when fly casting, you don't always have to do the traditional cast. A lot of times if you do that traditional cast, you're gonna put the fly in the tree. I actually happen to be using a streamer today. It's a little bit harder to do these type of casts just because you have a heavier fly that wants to kind of spring around on you, especially when you got a 3-weight. It still works, just a little harder with streamers. So one thing you can do, there's a big snag right beside you, right? You can't really wade any further out to get around it, and you want to fish the part of the river that's right next to it. Instead of doing an overhead cast, do a sidearm cast, right? You can cast, the same dynamics work, right? If you're not going back too far, you're waiting for the line to fully extend and shooting it back out there, you can do a sidearm cast the same way you do your overhand cast. So same type of thing, right? Everything you've learned with fly casting, just bring the rod tip down to where it's parallel to the water and then just do the same type of motion and you can get the cast out there very far doing just that, and you're casting underneath the tree. The next thing you can do, right, and if you've got a lot of room way up above you, but you got something right directly behind you, you can do what's called the tower cast. Essentially, when you're casting, you're throwing the line straight up, right? It's going straight up and back down, straight up and back down. So it's that kind of motion, right? Rod tip straight up and then forward, straight up, let the line extend down, cast forward. That is the tower cast, and that can get fly line out there 30, 40 feet, which should be plenty to get you in that fish zone. The next thing you can do is the roll cast. Now, I don't have a lot of room in this particular spot, so I'm doing almost what I call the flick cast, right? To where I'm trying to make that down loop, I'm keeping the line going downstream so it doesn't cross itself, and I just quickly move the tip of the rod forward while pulling down the line. So I'm pulling down the line and then letting go of the line right at the very end. So I'm bringing the rod tip up like this, trying to create a D-loop as far as I can go back, and then I'm almost doing a haul it, and forward, right? And the line just shoots right out, and I'm casting, 20, 30 feet using that flick cast or roll cast. The other thing I want you to try, right, is the bow and arrow cast. You can actually get the line out there pretty far with bow and arrow. So pull some line out. The key with a bow and arrow cast is pulling enough line out, right? Now you want to hold it tight here so you've got a loop of line, right? You got a hold of your fly. Now, instead of pulling back your fly, push forward your fly rod. So push forward the fly rod and then let go of everything, right? And that shoots the line out right in front of you. And that is called the bow and arrow cast. It takes some practice and you're not always gonna get it right, but I got the fly line out on that last cast, probably about 10 feet, which is enough to get it where I needed to go and get under that root and hopefully catch a fish, which I didn't, but it happens. You're not always gonna catch fish. But at least it allows you to get the line out there and the fly out there to where you actually have a chance to catch a fish in these very tight spots. So the next time you have a bunch of trees and a whole bunch of bushes and a whole bunch of stuff in your way, right? Try those casting techniques, right? It doesn't always have to be the traditional cast. Just try to flick that line out there. The key is, again, try to keep slack out of your line. Slack will kill a cast, even with a short flick cast. Slack will kill that cast. Try to keep a tight line to the fly. Be aware of your surroundings. A lot of times you can gauge how far your cast is gonna go based on how much room you have in the back cast. Remember, you need almost the same length, right? On your final back cast, if you're trying to make a 40-foot cast, you wanna make sure that you at least have 20 feet of room behind you. So the line's gonna extend out 20 feet behind you, and now you can do a haul and shoot it out, and all that line will shoot out and be 40 feet out into the river or wherever it is. So try those techniques the next time you're in a spot that's full of trees, full of branches, and hopefully you'll see out of the trees. But don't get frustrated if you do. This will help mitigate it. But the inevitability, right? Even guys like me who've been fly fishing for 40 years still get stuck in trees. It's just part of the game. All right. And if you need a little help with your fly fishing cast, check out this video right here. And if you need help with your fly selection, that was another thing that a lot of people get frustrated with. They don't know what flies to use. These are my top trout flies right here. All right, everybody. Till the next time, fish on.